Hello, Drawing One. We are about to color our comics, and since we're already using the sketchbook app, I thought I'd talk about color theory using the sketchbook app. You need to choose a color scheme that works well with your comic. So sometimes using every color in the rainbow is actually not super effective, but using a limited color scheme, limited colors that work really well together, and replicating them makes your comic look a lot more cohesive. So what we're going to talk about today, we have our color wheel right here. We have our primary colors, red, blue, yellow. We have our secondary colors, orange, violet, green. And we know just kind of a basic outline of color theory. The first thing I want to talk about is one that you could use, and it's our analogous color scheme. Analogous colors are any colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So you could use something like, I would say not more than 4 of the colors using this color wheel next to each other. So I could do like from green to yellow-orange, from blue to red, from blue-green to yellow-green. If you get going for too much more and it's like half the wheel, then it's not as unified. So analogous colors are really helpful. You can choose like warm colors, cool colors, but you're sticking to that side and then tinting and shading with white and black after that. So that's analogous colors. The other option that you could do is complementary colors. Complementary look really good next to each other. Oops, there we go. And they are across from each other. So we have orange and blue, we have red and green, or you could do something like blue, violet, and yellow, orange, something like that. So complements, that's your sports colors, if you feel like that's helpful for you. So red and green is the Wild, blue and orange is the Broncos or Bears, and yellow and violet is, of course, the Vikings. You can tint and shade these as well. So just because I'm using blue and orange doesn't mean I just have to use that straight high intensity color. You could have light blue, dark blue, light orange, dark orange, something like that. The next color scheme that you could use is a split complement. This one might be a new one. Split complement's kind of interesting because you pick one of your complementary colors. Sorry, I keep hiding the layer. There we go. One of your complementary colors, and so I'm choosing red as my base. And instead of going directly over to green like you would in a complementary color scheme, you're going to split this way and this way. So then I have red, yellow, green, and blue, green. You can do it starting with any of them. So if I started with blue, blue would be my base color. Instead of going to orange, I would go red, orange, and yellow. So you can kind of get a sense of what that might look like using this color wheel, and you're picking 3 colors now instead of just those 2 that complementary had, and you're tinting and shading those. So for my comic, I will be pulling up, I don't need this. These are all the drawings that I have. I'm gonna pull up mine. So I am ready to start coloring here. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to save an original copy of this, and then when I add more to it, I would save a different version so you have your black and white one, just in case things go wrong and you need to start over or you need to revert back to this. I am going to think about my color scheme as I work with my color. Remember, the double puck is right down here if you don't have it available to you. I'm going to be using this top bar quite a bit because I'm going to use this paint bucket tool. And if I've done a really nice job in my outlining, hopefully every line that I drew is more of a shape so that I can drop color in really, really easy. So I'm going to do a complementary scheme, and I'm going to do blue and orange. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a blue somewhere in here. I can do lights and darks. I can make it unsaturated or saturated, and then I'm gonna do the same on my orange. I find it really helpful to choose your colors first and then kind of go in and color with your palette. So I really like gray blue, so kind of a muted, this is a little violet for me, something like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a little bit of a color palette over here, a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to use this color quite a bit. I'm going to use that same color, but a little bit darker. Oops, I'm doing saturation. A little bit darker, like that. See, this is my new color here. So I'm just making a little bit of a color chart. I'm going to have a really light one right there. I'll do it right here. So there's my blues. Now I'm going to go to my oranges, and I'm going to pick a few of those to work with. I'm going to choose that one. I need a little bit more saturated orange, I think. Something like that. Then I'm going to go a little bit red-orange, like that. So I have a little bit of a color scheme going, and I can use those to kind of inform my artwork. Now I can work off of those a little bit, but those are just going to be my main base colors. Now the thing I love about having a palette already ready here is that if you want to find this orange again, all you have to do is come and find this little dropper and touch the middle of that to your orange, and now I found it again. So I can easily pull from those, and that makes my color theory quite a bit more cohesive. So let's see, I am going to start with my blues, and it just makes sense that I'm gonna hit my paint bucket tool so it just drops right in there. And I'm just gonna go on my whole piece and say, okay, this makes sense to be blue, this, and I'm kind of dividing it up so it's not all one color. And I think I'll have that be blue. And already, since I have the same color running through my piece, you might have to zoom it. Oops, just back up if you accidentally hit a line. There we go. And then I'm gonna come in with maybe this darker blue. Make sure that paintbrush or the paint bucket tool is on. And now I'm filling in maybe a few other pieces. What else do I want blue? Maybe, oops. Maybe my shirt's gonna be blue. And this plate is, oh, I keep hitting a line. You might have to zoom in. There we go, my plate is blue. Anytime you mess up, you can just back it up. This is quite dark, so I'm going to use it on a few things that are just, could be a little bit darker. Oh my goodness, I keep hitting that line. There you go. There. All right, so I am going to continue this, picking up my color, dropping it in, and coloring just the inside of my colors. It does help to zoom. I'm going to choose my lighter color for things like my pancakes. And it doesn't mean that you are only restricted to these colors, but I want the main colors to be very inside this wheelhouse. So if I think, oh, I really want like my grass to be green and it's not in my color theory, maybe then after I use as many colors as I can say, okay, now what actually makes sense and fits with this that wouldn't look like it's clashing? And see if you can branch out from your original color scheme to put a few more little highlights in. So it's not a hard and fast rule that needs to be your only ones, but I do want you to really focus on being limited in your colors, and just being purposeful throughout your work. I would like you to also think about your borders. So whatever color you think would accentuate your border like that, go ahead and choose. And you are going to then be filling in every color of your work. The only white space I want left is things that you want very purposefully white. So my keyboard is going to be white. My maybe my mouths are going to be white. Anything that like really makes sense. The rest of it should be all colored. One other thing to add is if you're doing some dialogue, so some like speech bubbles or any kind of text, along this upper scrolling section is this T, and so you can go ahead and type in your text and hit, and there's a lot of different like fonts up here and different things that you can kind of play around with. Color is right here as well, so maybe I choose something that works with my color scheme. And then I have my, whoops, then I have to hit my move tool. So now I have my dialogue here. So that's how I got my title typed in. You can handwrite your speech bubbles or any words that you have, but just be thoughtful about how you write it. Don't just scribble it in. Think about your handwriting if you're doing that. Otherwise, you can have some that is typed. It does create a new layer for your text, so that's kind of convenient if you mess up or want to try again. So this is what I would like you to do for next time. You need to think about a cohesive color scheme. You need to use your paint bucket tool to fill in. If you notice that you didn't do a good job outlining, you might have to do a little bit more of that to close your shapes before you can color it. And I'm looking for some really nice color scheme colored versions of your comics. We're not quite done after this, but we're getting very close, and I'm looking for a good final to end with. When you do finish this, you can hit gallery, and then you can say save current sketch as a copy. That means that this is going to save so that my original black and white one is still here. This is when I was playing around with a different color scheme, so you can kind of see how that went. And then this is the one that I just worked on. Good luck and keep coloring.